Hello, I'm Katie Harrison and this is Stepmum Space, the judgment-free zone where we'll talk candidly about the fairy tales and scary tales of stepmum life. So whether you've been a stepmum for years, you're just starting out, or you want to understand the stepmum in your life a little bit better, this is the place for you. My guest today is Amy. Amy met her partner after her first husband had passed away. It's a raw but uplifting story about Amy's journey through grief, finding love again, and becoming a stepmom to 2 boys. As with most of us, it's not without its ups and downs, but it's an incredible story of compassion, self-awareness, and willingness to give love a go. Let's get into the show. Amy, thank you so much for joining me.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
I'm so grateful for you for getting in touch, and I've been really looking forward to talking to you because your story taps into so many different elements of human emotion experience. So do you want to start with kind of telling us a little bit about what brought you to being a stepmom in the first place?
Yes. So I suppose the best way to talk about where I am now is to describe a little bit about what I call my past life, my previous story, but still very much something I still carry in my heart today, so still very with me. I was married for nearly 10 years and my husband sadly was diagnosed with a brain tumour. Within 3 years of his diagnosis, he deteriorated quite rapidly, more so in the last 3 months. So sadly, he passed away in 2018. And I suppose there's a lot that's happened since then, but my life has moved rapidly. Part of that is it's still acknowledging, even now to this day, my new relationship, that grief comes and goes in waves. Anybody who's experienced a bereavement hopefully will recognize that. And it can be sometimes difficult, and there's so many triggers. Sometimes I'm not always aware of what they am, but I am getting better in understanding that. So when I lost my partner, I was single. Obviously, I was in deep grief, mourning his loss, but I was also really clear, and this doesn't really have much to do with what my late husband told me. People always ask, "Oh, did he want you to move on? Did he want you to start a new relationship?" We never had that conversation because he never expected to die, to say it bluntly. But I know what I would have wanted for him and what he would have wanted for me. There's a soul connection, and we were best friends. We met when we were 18 and he passed away 18 years later. So Gosh. He was my best friend, and I truly believe he wanted my happiness, whatever form that would have looked like. I was also looking, I think, for a connection. I was online, I was looking for other widowers, anybody who shared something with me, because my immediate family, they were lovely, understanding, but nobody had been through what I'd been through. I didn't have many support systems. I was quite young myself.
How old were you, Amy?
34.
Yeah, that's young to go through that. And you mentioned you'd already been married 10 years by that point.
And we'd undergone a lot through our marriage, even before his diagnosis. We'd undergone IVF, which wasn't successful. I think, to be honest, there was a lot of stress on my body in dealing with his treatment. If anybody has experienced any loved one who's been diagnosed with cancer, especially a terminal form, it's like the bereavement process. And I've learned this through therapy now, that it can start much sooner than the loss. I definitely felt that with my late husband. I was mourning the loss of a marriage. He was still my best friend and I really, loved him, but it was, I suppose, we weren't fulfilling a typical marriage. We were still quite young. I was going to work. There was bills to pay. It was full on. He was having treatment, but also private treatment we were trying to fund in Switzerland. It was relentless 3 years of us hoping that the next thing would work. He was so positive. But towards the end, when even another kind of treatment didn't work, we were thinking, this isn't good. And he eventually went to chemotherapy, and it was very, very quickly then a deterioration. And brain tumours are really difficult, especially if they affect the aspect of personality. It was quite difficult because he was changing to the man I'd met. He was also really just like, you get on with your life. You've got a life to live. I don't expect you to stay in with me. He really encouraged me to do that. I had an amazing support system. His friends, my own friends, my family, my amazing parents, my brother. But he passed away as expected, as much as you never know what's coming. It was, for me, a sudden release, a really hard feeling to describe, because I think I'd started grieving much sooner. So I went online and I joined a few dating agencies within 6 months, which is very quick after losing your spouse. I had really weird emotions about it: shame, guilt, fear of judgment. So that's why it was super secretive. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know. I just thought I'd honestly just bump into somebody who would be, obviously I wasn't just looking for a support system. I was looking for a partner, somebody who would understand, because I'd lost my husband, but it was very complex emotions. I really didn't expect to meet anybody. I went on a few dates. It was not with the right people. I changed my profile to like not looking, whatever. And then as in, I was going to get off this. This is not the right thing. This is not for me. I just need to go find something else. And just before I did that, like, a profile popped up. And it was my current partner's.
Wow.
He was very honest in his profile in saying he was a divorcee. I was very honest in saying I was a recently, widowed. We were always upfront with each other, more so than we were with anybody else. And we were complete strangers at that point.
Did you know from his profile that he had children straight away?
Straight away, 2 boys.
And how old were they?
Yes, so at the time they were 5, 6, and 7. He was a divorcee, so their mother had decided to leave my partner.
The boys were 5 and 7 when you met your partner, and their parents had split up 4 years earlier. So were they going between both parents during that time?
Initially, and the boys were very young. So the eldest being, he was just started primary school, and the youngest was still a baby. Mum took them. My partner did not see them for a year.
Wow.
Because the custody battle started pretty much, and I call it a battle, that started almost immediately. There wasn't no financial side. She didn't want him to have any contact with the boys.
Before they split up, was he close to the kids? Was he around?
Yes. Other than being a really busy dad and working really hard, he was there in their lives. There were reasons, I think she just wanted to start over. And the only way I think she could see starting over was not having her ex-husband in her life. So I don't know the ins and outs of it. I know that there's 2 sides to a story. I'm an adult. I understand that there was a lot of lack of compatibility. Ultimately, I think when you look at the situation, no matter how many angles he tells me the story from, he'll always tell it from his angle. So she went back to where she came from, which was 2 hours away from where my partner lived in East London. And ultimately, the court saw sense. It just took the time. He'd missed out a year, but the custody arrangement fell quite sensibly, whether she liked it or not, to him seeing the boys every other weekend.
Okay, so you're in this situation, and by the time you've met him, he's got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. He's seeing them every other weekend, and I guess probably doing quite a long round trip on those weekends if she lived a couple of hours away.
He'd pick him up on a Friday after his job. He was lucky to finish a little bit earlier, bring them back quite late evening on a Friday, and then he'd have to start getting them back on a Sunday. So Sunday was almost not a day you can count, really, as far as he could spend time. But what's beautiful is, and I experienced a little bit of this, is the amazing relationship they had in their car journeys. And I was just like, this is just so unique. I've never come across it. Like, I remember being a really moody teenager and a kid, like, going on long car journeys with my mum and dad. I didn't want to talk.
I remember my partner when he used to do his long journeys with his daughters, and he would always say, oh yeah, we had a car disco. It was great fun, And I think you kind of, when you spend that time in the car and you're spending less time with your children anyway, you do find ways to make everything fun and everything a memory.
He's really like that. He he just made the most of every opportunity. So, and he was also, the crazy thing is he wanted the grandparents' time as well. So when he had them on that weekend, which is still only every other weekend, he also did this thing where he'd give the grandparents time. So he left and he'd go, he had work to do. So he would go away and do some work just so that they could get that bonding time with their paternal grandparents. And I just think that's all really precious, the fact that he's thinking of all that in such short space of a window of a weekend. It's just,
well, that's the thing. And when couples split up, it's not just the parents who suddenly have to share the time, it's the grandparents, the aunties, the uncles, and so many people are sort of affected by this. So how did you meet the children?
And this is the bit that took a bit longer, given that I met my partner pretty quickly after what I'd encountered. He was very honest in our first meetings and subsequent, like even in the second, third. He always spoke about the boys. It was something I knew right from the outset, that he was a very committed father, to the point, I suppose this is where we waver now about this conversation, because I'm not so sure. He said he always wanted his boys back, and I get that. I thought it was just something someone says who loves their kids immensely. I've never come across a situation where the mum did not have the full custody. So maybe I was a bit ignorant there.
So when they went through their custody battle, was their father trying to get full custody?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And then, so there you go. There was accusations back and forth in terms of their parenting, and that I think the courts were just stop already, you can't have this. This is not the best way around for the boys. And they sided with her. He was not happy with every other weekend. Even to this date, like he said, that was just so traumatic for him. But for the boys, I mean, on the whole, this is where the difference is. The youngest, he was a mummy's boy. He settled with that arrangement really quickly. The eldest never did. I met them a month and a bit into our relationship in a park. My partner didn't introduce me as a girlfriend or anything, but as a friend, but they'd never been introduced to another female friend of his. So
yeah, kids aren't stupid.
Lovely chaps, and really I never got that impression still to this day that they thought their mummy and daddy should get back together. They'd accepted it so quickly. I mean, it's 4 years on, so maybe that's why.
And had their mum met somebody else?
No, she has now, but she was single for a very, very long time.
That's interesting, because from the stories I hear, it often seems like if the mother has moved on, then the children are more ready to accept dad having a new partner.
They were so accepting to me, so warm, so accepting, so excited of this life.
That's amazing. And how was his ex about it?
She was okay. They never had a conversation as much as she knew pretty quickly, as soon as the boys knew, but there was never a formal telling her. I've never had any crosswords with her. I've never had this whole high conflict, drama with her that I hear so much about. My partner has. I've been around when he has. He's protected me a lot, right? And I think that is because of my past. So that's the other thing about him. He's basically, I think, he was a dad to me as well, almost. He was just you don't need to expose yourself to her, or not in terms of just her because she's my ex, but any negativity with us. I kept out of it a lot. I literally go out for a walk if I knew she had to, if they had to have a phone call about the boys. I'd go in the other room. I wasn't around. I didn't hear much of it. And afterwards, he would have a moan sometimes if the conversation had been difficult. In that respect, I suppose I still did hear his side of it. I didn't ever encounter anything with her. Even I did start going on the drop-offs.
It's quite interesting, though, because you hear so much from women or stepmums who end up actually doing a lot of the communication or a lot of chivying of their partner to sort things out with the ex, and who get kind of really involved in it. And that puts so much stress on the stepmom that ultimately she doesn't need. And you hear a lot of people, so a phrase I hear a lot, I'm still working out how I feel about it, is not my circus, not my monkeys. In terms of, just kind of stepping back and saying, you chose to procreate with her, you deal with it, and removing yourself from that. And it sounds like your partner protecting you was probably one of the best things that he could have done.
Absolutely. It wasn't me abandoning responsibility, but I definitely wasn't emotionally equipped to deal with the responsibility. So I think he recognized that, and he just didn't think, well, why the hell should you have to?
Mm.
Um,
I guess also by the time he met you, they'd already had this arrangement for 4 years. So
yeah,
I think when partners get together quite quickly, it's maybe more difficult because everybody's trying to find their place and find their role. But perhaps because it was already working and because he was already used to managing her alone, it saved you a bit of involvement.
totally. And I don't think I would have got with Jay if he was in the early stages of that process, right? Given where I had come from. I don't know, I could have even dealt with that. I would have just been like, what? Like, mind blowing. So I think the fact that he was, although it wasn't always amicable, there was an arrangement of sorts, and they were at a safe distance. I mean, I think the things that made it more complicated was the boys. I mean, it always does come down to the kids and the difference between the two boys.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Honestly, you wouldn't even know, other than there's some similarity in the way they look, that they are brothers. Emotionally, you can see young one, super confident, super outspoken. I'd describe him as happy. When I met the eldest one, he was troubled. You could see it written on his face. You could see it in his interactions. You could see it in, like, mostly when they were getting ready to go home, pack their little cases. It was just like heartbreaking. He'd run under the table. He'd hide. The younger brother was like, come on, we've got to go home now. And he almost got irritated with his brother because, like, why don't you want to go back to mum?
And why didn't he want to go back to mum?
I think ultimately it was because he preferred his life with his dad and his paternal grandparents, uncle, a dog, that London life, and then also getting used to me. He liked that arrangement. My dad has another lady, at least somebody who could be like a unit, and he could see the conventional arrangement as far as his other friends had. He vocalized all of this. He's like, but like, I prefer it here. I like it here. Now, he was really vocal with us. He would always tell us the truth, but he didn't always express it to mum.
I guess he was probably worried about upsetting her.
I think so. He did not feel, now whether this is true or not, he did not feel he was treated fairly. I have to acknowledge that that is a valid thing. I found that hard to understand and accept.
So he felt like he was treated differently to his brother by his mum?
Yes.
Okay, in what way?
He expresses it as like, I have to do more housework. I have to do things that my brother doesn't have to do. Now, I'm always coming at it from the flip angle, and my partner hates this. He's like, you just have to accept he's saying that and not question or wonder why. But I do. I mean, I'm a thinker. I'm analytical. That's my kind of my job, my brain. And I don't say to him why, but for me, it's because he was older.
Yeah.
Also because he was older, but not just that. And this is where it is unfair, I feel, of her, is that I think there was a resentment there of he was saying, I prefer my London life. Now it's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it? It's like, which bit comes first? Was he treated that way because he kept saying he prefers his life with dad, and then she was like, oh, you're just annoying me,
Yeah, but even still, like, heartbreaking if that was the case. And even though it was probably very painful for her to hear that, you would think, if anything, it would have made things go the other way. So,
and this is where she didn't handle it well, and definitely her pride, her everything she held against my partner maybe was unleashed with her eldest, as far as nothing ever as far as violence, but definitely words, definitely like a treatment and a feeling. And I know that's not imagined. I know it's very real. Emotionally, and my partner feels it more. Like, he's hurt as much as he's hurt for his son. For me, it's like I find it a struggle. I still find it a struggle because I'm like, you've only got one mum. That's where I come at it a lot in my head. I don't tell him as much now.
So you're in the situation where you've got the boys coming to you every other weekend, but you've got one of them, the 7-year-old, and I guess over the next year or so, saying, I actually don't want to go back. I want to be here permanently. And you've got a mum who doesn't want that to happen, and it's causing kind of quite a bit of tension. So how did that all play out?
It came to a head during lockdown, right at the beginning of lockdown as well, back in 2020, where she sent them to us for nearly 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the story behind that then? Because that's a unusual move.
I still don't know. the way it's explained is that she couldn't cope. She never told us that. Boys said that mummy's just had enough. She's just finding it hard. I mean, lockdown's immensely hard. So I know she was a frontline worker as far as a key worker during pandemic. So she was going out to work. And then I imagine, no, the boys were at home doing homeschooling. I think that must have been really hard. She didn't have a partner to support her. She had a huge extended family. I think there must have been a few incidences during the beginning of lockdown when she'd been really unfair on him. And he was eaten up by that.
And it's so hard because that period of like the initial lockdown, especially for frontline key workers, was so stressful. And, you know, you can almost understand behavior coming out that wasn't necessarily positive. But if you've already got a child who's in your home feeling like they're sort of second best, it's only going to make that an awful lot worse. I'm quite interested though in the fact that she didn't want him to go full-time to dad's, but then she made the choice to send them both full-time to dad's.
At least for the lockdown period. So then it comes to like, there was no real arrangement because that's outside the custody arrangement, isn't it? It's not really written on paper. So then it gets to like end of June, early July, and I'm muting it. I'm saying, wait a minute, like, what's going to happen now?
How was that for you then, to have them suddenly there permanently?
It was completely overwhelming. Sorry, and a big part of the story that I haven't said is that before they came to a lockdown was I was pregnant. I'd got pregnant for my baby, our baby together in the previous year. So when they came to us in lockdown, I was 6 months pregnant.
Gosh, okay. And I imagine going through a pregnancy during that crazy beginning part of lockdown must have been really unsettling. You must have felt really vulnerable.
Super vulnerable. I'd been sent home from a job in London because of high risk pregnancy, and I was working from home initially, but by the time they'd come I actually wasn't working, so in a way I did have some time, you know, because she didn't have that time. My partner's parents were hugely supportive during that lockdown period where we had the boys, so they helped out. The boys would go there for a week or so. They're so hands-on, they're so supportive. What happened is I did say, okay, it's time for them to think about going back. Because if you remember that first year, the government was thinking about relaxing rules during the summer, weren't they? And so then the boys were like, oh, you know, friends. And, you know, there was a lot of that. And the youngest definitely was more, no, I want to go back now.
Yeah, so you've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old who've been away from their mum and their school for a few months.
They're ready to go back. Eldest was like, I want to stay longer. He was traumatized by like going back, whereas the young one was always excited about going back, but also excited about coming to see dad as well. The whole custody thing, really, you know, this is the thing the courts don't hear, is that arrangement in itself made, I don't know, I think it's going to be lifelong. I don't know how he's going to get over the trauma of those memories and those experiences of having to be forced back to somewhere he did not want to go.
So you've had the boys there with you for a good few months. You are, you know, quite far into your pregnancy with your much wanted baby. You start throwing around the conversation of, right, when are they going back? What did you get in return?
My partner kind of has a text conversation with her, and we tell the boys, my partner agrees, you know, they need to start thinking about going back. And yeah, the youngest was ready, the eldest not so. So it was meant to be just a phone call with their mum where they were going to just say, like, and I think this is probably my partner's kind of where he goes wrong, is he does this thing where they're part of a conversation with their mum, which isn't the best way. So like adults should work things out and then communicate it to children. But it's because he wasn't getting anywhere with her, right? She never like gave him a date. She was very sketchy. It's almost, like she didn't want them back that quickly, or it wasn't quickly, but you know, she wasn't ready or something was going on. I'm not ever going to understand what exactly. And anyway, they agree to a date in July, mid-July to the end of July. And it's more the youngest talking to the mum. Partner's backed off a little bit. Eldest son has backed off a bit. Then the eldest just like, I'm not coming.
To his mum or to?
Yeah, on the voice, like just shouting at her.
Oh gosh.
She's not shouting back at him. She's just like, I don't understand what's wrong, like that. Anyway, they eventually do all leave a week later. He's quiet. He's very moody. They get in the car. And and it majorly kicks off like something out of a scene of EastEnders, as far as I was told, because I was not there.
So what happened?
Well, she had a cake set up and a birthday celebration for her eldest.
So it sounds like she was making the effort to sort of welcome him home.
I think so. He agreed to go in, some type of pressure, or maybe he just wanted to go in and he had presents there and stuff like that, you know. But he said, I'm only going in if Dad's allowed as well with me. She refused. She grabbed his arm. I'm telling this exactly how my partner's told me, but also a neighbour, and also obviously the eldest son. I have to go in. You know? And I hate this because it happens a lot. Is like that I feel like that I'm the judge and jury, and I don't like that. It's like to convince me almost like she did wrong, you know.
And like you say, sometimes you can, as much as you love your partner and as much as you do understand what they're saying about their ex, sometimes you can think, well, actually, I think the ex has got a point, or actually I can see it from her side. And I guess for you as a woman and somebody who's, you know, growing your own child, you can probably see that she's trying to make an effort, whatever's happened in the past. So yeah, it's a weird dynamic, that thing where you feel the empathy to the ex, but you want to be on your partner's side.
Really weird. And then he brings his son back to London because even she's kind of forced into a situation where she doesn't, I don't think at that point any of us know what's going to happen next, but it's at least in that moment, in the heat of the moment, it's a case of he can't go in there, he won't stay the night there, at least that's definitely a given, and we'll just have to all work it out. And I think that's what my partner decided in that moment. Drop the youngest off, let's think about what's going to happen with the eldest. And then like he comes back, and the aftermath is basically, we thought would be her fighting for her son, you know. It wasn't. It was just like, I don't know what's happened in lockdown, she said. I don't know what's happened in lockdown, she said. Like, you know, something's turned him against me, someone or something. And so this is the first and only time I have had a long conversation with her. I picked up the phone. She knew I was pregnant. She was lovely, although my partner says it's all part of an act, but I was kind of pleading to her. I was saying, whatever's gone on, can you not try harder? Can you not, for your son's sake, can you not try to just think? And she was hell-bent on like, I've done nothing wrong, really stubborn. It's all his doing, as in my partner's and everyone else's. They've turned him against me. You know, when you can't reason with somebody.
Yeah.
She was in that headspace. There was nothing I could say or do. The only thing, the way I left it was, I'm not ready for this, but I promise you I'll do the best by him. You know, I gave her that promise. I don't know if she wanted it from me. She was really nice. I remember her saying, he'll be back one day. You know, like.
What happened after that then? So you've had this conversation with his mum. You've brought him back because he refuses to go into the house. And then did he just stay with you?
Yes. And he's never gone back. He's visited. We've encouraged that.
Does the younger son still come and visit?
No, he doesn't visit him. Mum doesn't let him. The messy thing now is he's angry with his dad. The youngest is now annoyed with dad. He thinks dad took his brother away. He says as much. I mean, it sounds like her words because he's only still little, 7. They have, not regular, but they do have some phone calls, but it's not regular contact. It's nothing like it was. So in a way, my partner's lost his son and she's lost her son.
Yeah, that's really, really sad, isn't it? And the brothers have lost each other.
They have, because I think he sees it now that he's only got a younger sister, that actually it was nothing against his brother. They loved each other, they adored each other. I think he does miss that connection because he talks about his brother a lot.
Does he?
Yeah. I think he'll always work out that relationship with his brother. He's very older brother-like when he talks. That's my brother. He'll always be my brother. Very mature, you know. As he goes into his teen years, we're always going to keep that open, that relationship. He's starting high school this year, and I hope they can have a relationship. If it might not be the same, but it doesn't have to be that they live together.
Yeah. And for you, how's it been for you? Because you've obviously gone through one huge trauma with the loss of your first husband. And you've then kind of entered this new relationship and I always think it's an interesting one, because when you sign up to be a stepmom, you sort of sign up to the situation that you get given. And yes, of course, you know that in the future, there's a chance that children might come to live with you full time, but generally that's quite unlikely. And it's probably something that you give a little bit of consideration to, but maybe not loads. And obviously then you became pregnant with your own daughter and probably had an idea of what your family was going to end up being like, as in sometimes there's five of you, most of the time there's 3 of you. How's it been for you, given that that's kind of completely different now and you've got a child who's about to go into high school and a baby?
Yeah, I always say I became a mum and a mum to a newborn, and then a mum to a 8.5, 9-year-old at the same time, all of a sudden. And it was a massive adjustment. I almost feel it was because I recognized my grief from losing my late husband. It was a new type of grief. I thought, well, here I go. I think I deserve some happiness after everything I've been through. I think it's about time now that I got a little bit of how I want my life to play out, because I never had that for like nearly 5 years before. So how about now I'm settled, I'm secure, I'm happy. And it's just like, you can't plan. You can never plan how your life will work out. That's one thing I've learned. And I was mourning, I think, what I thought the typical family I would have was going to be. I do mourn that sometimes, the typical mum, dad, baby, because there's some unique experiences that new parents would share, although he was never going to be a new parent in the same way as me, but there would have been some new things for him, because personally she's a girl, and and with me. But again, I have to say, it's the only way I know. I can't imagine it different now. And I don't do what if, so I don't go, wish, and I'm not resentful. I don't feel anger. I sometimes feel a little bit like sad for the situation. That's his mom and that's his brother, and oh my gosh, like I feel sad, but I see how happy, like if you look at all the little individual units in it, they're all overall, besides I think, mom and dad, for their sons, they miss each other. Overall, everyone's happy and settled with this arrangement. I see the pictures of the little boy, the youngest son, and I see him talk on the phone to his brother, super confident, super happy. Like he's not, he might miss his brother, but it's not like he wants to be with us.
Yeah, and that's another really interesting one, isn't it? Because sometimes like we think, oh God, they're going to be so traumatized by this split. And you would think, yeah, actually that's something that will trouble them. But who are we to necessarily decide that? Because like you say, maybe that's what's working for them. And maybe now that's the best thing.
And kids are resilient. If you put them in that situation for long enough, it's then normal. I almost feel that I find it harder than he does. He's happy. I mean, the quality of life that we've been able to give him, he definitely didn't have before.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship with him now.
We've got a really, I'd say, friendly relationship. It's super respectful. And when I had the newborn, with the extra pair of hands, like he was so doting on her. He was just amazing older brother. But because it's such a massive age difference, he's got it down. He got it to a fine art. We're not married, but I still say stepson. I think he has a lot of mutual respect. I don't think he expects me to fulfill. I don't know, but I don't think he expects the mum role.
And what about your stepson's feelings towards his biological mother now?
I think where my stepson is now is at a place of, because he's happy, and happiness can change perspective, can't it? I think he understands her a little bit more. He doesn't really want to talk about her that much. He doesn't want anything bad said. And he said, oh, well, he's very grown up. Well, she is the only mum I'll get. And I don't know if that's like, I've said things like that. So I don't know if he's repeating it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I think my brother's happier there. The real way to see how a child really feels is what he might say to his friends. It's a real insight how children talk to other children, because I've never really known like him open up that much as far as how he feels. But a little boy's mum told me, your son, he said, and this is sad, my mum doesn't want me, she wants my brother. And I've never heard him say it in that way before. But he was very matter of fact. So therefore the impact of her not fighting for him, not making more of a fuss, you know what? The impact of her not changing enough for him has stayed with him, will stay with him. Because that's a lot. Yes, you're happy with your dad and his partner, but your mum didn't care enough to like give it a go. She's the adult, and he's recognizing that. So that's something that's going to be complicated as he grows up, but he's very aware.
And it's great that he's got you, who you've done a lot of work on yourself, and you've been through so much in your life that you are able to help him understand what he's going through. So it's a great thing that he's got you by his side.
I want to carry on that relationship where I can talk to him about his feelings. And I always say to my partner, and anybody who knows me and what I've been through, is that what's really important to me now is to be really transparent and authentic with how I'm feeling, because I've hidden that, I think, sometimes. I don't know if it comes with age or experience or whatever, but I'm comfortable if our relationship, and any relationship, if I say this is the boundaries I set, this is how it's going to be, I need a lot of me time. I need to go away. By the way, Thursday seems to be that day, and today's Thursday. And Thursday is my self-growth day. So I do a lot for me. It's just something that I'm like, need to be not a mum, not a stepmom, not a partner, a mother, daughter, or anything. I just want to go away and be me.
That's so important. I think it's something that a lot of people could learn a lesson from. And if you have the chance to grasp whatever me time you can amidst the chaos of stepmumming, mumming, working, lifing, adulting, it's hard, then grab whatever you can. So listen, Ami, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been such a beautiful, insightful conversation. And I think thinking about what those things that you learned from your earlier trauma have enabled you to do for those boys just shows again that when you think that the dark is only ever dark, there is still chinks of light in it. So just thank you so much for sharing what you have with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Wow, I hope there was something in that chat which you can take away. I hear a lot of women talk about the grief that comes with stepmotherhood. As I often say, nobody dreams of becoming a stepmom, and nobody dreams of having a stepmom. It's not an easy path to tread for anybody. So if you are on it, wherever you are on your journey, then sending strength, solidarity, and love to you. And if you're listening so you can support a stepmom, then thank you. We need more people like you. As always, if you've got a story you'd like to share, please do get in touch. You can find me at www.stepmumspace.com or on all the socials at stepmumspace. If you've enjoyed the show, please do rate it, as it helps other women find us. See you next time.